Welcome to the Diane McClay Show, empowering life through choice. Get ready to discover new perspectives, motivation, and balance through Diane's compassionate storytelling and insightful discussions. Whether you're feeling stuck and discouraged, or curious and looking for more possibilities, Diane has your back, and she's ready to take you on a journey of self-discovery and expansion. Choice is powerful, and so are you. The Diane McClay Show starts now.
Welcome in, everybody, to 2022. The Diane McClay Show is here to empower you and engage your life through choice. I'm super excited to have a friend of mine, the newest member of the Cornelia Stephanie Media Group podcasting group, and a new member to the Transformation Talk Radio family. Rosita Perez McLaurin is a passionate and inspiring wayfinder, discovery life coach, and licensed realtor who specializes in helping people navigate big life changes. In partnership with her faith and relationship with God, Rosita works to empower her clients through self-motivation, discovery, and generating positive solutions. Welcome in, Rosita. We have got a lot to talk about because we are talking about resolutions and coming home and rigidity, and we've had a lot of dancing around in the green room prior to getting on air. I'm super excited to have you on the show. Thank you for saying yes.
Thank you, Diane, for the invite and for being able to be on one of your shows. I'm excited about the conversation because this is a new year and we can't come in just okie dokie-ing it. We've got to come in strong, intentional, and purposeful.
Nice. And start us off. What's something that is strong and intentional and purposeful for you that you feel comfortable sharing with our audience right now?
Balance, right? There's so much to do as a woman, as an entrepreneur. You know, as soon as you wake up, all these thoughts, all the to-do lists. So I had to just learn to calm myself, take a moment, be intentional, be still, and then get out of bed right away and go work out.
Well, something that's strong and intentional for me is obviously choice and courage are on the back of my wall. This is something that that I've been embracing for probably about the last 7 years or so. And choice, what that really means, and you and I talked about this before we got on the air, is that we have more choice than what we're often led to believe that we're told that we have, especially as women in business, especially as women who are making really big decisions for ourselves about empowering ourselves. And what I love about following Cornelia Stephanie and Stories of Hope show is she's so great at bringing other strong, empowered women on that have made courageous choices, and they have empowered themselves through all sorts of things: trauma, business, abuse, that kind of thing. And what's really nice about the Cornelia Stephanie Media Group network is that we all talk about different components of how we find that balance that you spoke of and how we move towards it. So let's talk a little bit. You are starting a radio show that's going to come on. So do you want to tell folks a little bit about what that is and when they can tune in? And then we'll catch it again towards the end of the show to remind folks.
It is going to be called Moving Forward for Life with Rosita. So I'm going to be talking about different ways that that I personally had to come to terms with of how to move forward in life. Because we can all get stuck. We can be stuck in everything that we always do, we always done. But here's the thing: if you do what you always do, you're going to get what you always got. So that's my show is going to be talking about that, discovering who you are, discovering that you are a gift, discovering ways that you can move into your gift and be able to come home, whether you are buying real estate or whether you are unpacking those boxes, right, of pain that we have kept so neatly packed in a Pandora's box. My show, we were going to be talking about unpacking those boxes and how to deal with coping mechanisms, where to go for help. Oh, so much. So please tune in. It will be starting January 28th at 12:30 on the Transformation Talk Radio.
That's 12:30 Pacific time, right?
Correct.
Right. All right. Well, coming home and unpacking boxes and navigating life's big choices and making choices to make choices. That sounds super exciting. So let's jump in. You know, you and I talked about when we jumped on the show. I want to call out if I can. You said to me, you were gracious enough. I had a guest that canceled, and a couple days ago, you said, "Yes, I got your back." And I think that's one of the first things that's really important to call out is when we're trying to navigate something that's difficult. I think it's really important that we identify that small circle of people or those reliable people, those balanced people that have our back. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. Not everybody can go on that journey.
Right. Right. And I'm glad you're on this journey with me because you said something poignant in our conversation. You said, you know, Diane, if you had asked me 5 years ago, you know, if we had this exact same situation where there was a spontaneous last minute need to have a guest on a show 5 years ago, I don't think I could have done it because I was feeling too rigid and I had my own limitations. Do you want to elaborate a little bit on that story?
Oh my gosh, talk about rigid. I would be too scared to step out in faith. I would be like, oh no, wait, I need a month to get prepared. I don't know what I'm going to say. I got to write a script. But now, after my healing, after I've discovered who I am and my gifts, now when you called me, I was like, hey, okay, I think I want to do that because everything comes to you for a purpose. There's a reason that you called me. It's part of the bigger picture, right? I mean, I'm going to have how appropriate is it that I'm going to have a show in 2 weeks?
Right.
And then you call me out of the blue and say, hey, can you do this show? Wow, absolutely.
So
But
what do you
before I was so rigid, I would not be able to navigate into
and
that
two
space.
questions to that. Did you know you were rigid back then, or do you only know that you were rigid because you are not now? Right? Did you know it back then? Like, did you feel it in your body? Did someone explain to you or describe you as being rigid? Or is this a newfound discovery for you on the journey that you've been taking?
Okay, that's a packed question. Let's unpack it. So I didn't know because it was a familial thing. This is just what we did. This is how we know how to do it. So I just kept on that path. I was told several times that I am rigid and kind of just blew it off like they don't know what they're talking about. I did not know what I didn't know until I began my own healing journey and realized that I'm missing out so much of life by keeping myself in a box.
Yeah. And I'm a little bit opposite of you. I feel like my whole entire life I've lived outside of a box. In my career, I worked for, you know, a government service, and that's very box-like. It's very bureaucratic. And what I realized is I could work within a box, but then there's a point where I kind of, you know, I kind of imagine me being in a cardboard box, and I'd be that little head that's like pushing the flap open, and then my arm would come out, and I kept getting told to be, you know, stay in my own lane, stay in my own box. And one of the places that I learned, so sort of the opposite lesson, is that I was in an environment that had rigidity to it for a reason, but I didn't fit into it, and I didn't know that until after I stepped away from it, and after I started my own coaching business and started having the ability to create and write with less structure. So second question, what have you learned that could be helpful to our audience? How did you shift from rigid to non-rigid? And what do you know now that you didn't know before that helps you in life, that empowers you?
How I shifted. Big transition in my life. I had to have the courage to look in the mirror because stuff that happens to you, right? Sometimes the traumas and pains that happen, they could be generational, they could be self-inflicted by choices that you make. So I had to take the trauma that I went through and I had to make a choice, a conscious, intentional choice and say, that's it, I'm done. I've got to find out how to get out of this type of life. So I started on my healing journey. And I've worked tried everything. I tried counseling. I've tried so many different things to help me move out of this type of rigidness and perfectionism. And so what worked for me is developing my faith with God and knowing that I am worthy, that I am a gift.
Wow, that's huge. And I just want to call that out for a minute, right? That's really powerful, like enough that I have goosebumps on my arm when you mention it. Is that what I'm hearing you say is that maybe you felt alone, and maybe there was a point where you didn't want to feel or couldn't feel alone anymore, and you felt like your faith in God would be the thing that would help make you feel less alone. But then I'm also hearing you say that in that journey and in that process, in that relationship building with God, you also tuned into a new place of awareness that perhaps you didn't have before. Am I hearing that right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was just so tunnel vision. This is
Mhm.
what I'm going to do, and it has to be perfect. So I spent a lot of time distracting myself to be perfect. And
Right.
that took away experiencing life.
Isn't that crazy how much energy perfectionism actually takes? You know, I'm a writer, and it's weird. I was hesitating as I was saying that. Yes, I am a writer, and I had a friend of mine tell me, you know, there'd be times I'd be writing and I'm trying to wordsmith it and I'm trying to spell check it, and then there's a place where I have to research. So then I would get stuck in this trying to make it perfect the first time around. And I had a friend said that as a writer, you have three brains, right? You have the writing brain, the editing brain, and the research brain. And all three of those brains cannot function at the same time. You have to
Yeah.
write, and then you have to edit, and then you leave spaces in what you write in order to bring in any of the facts or the research or the, you know, the consulting type stuff. And when I let go, and this is something you and I talked about, when I made the choice to let go of trying to use all three brains at once, when I said I'm just going to write from the heart, everything flowed. And that brings me to my next point, which is, it also sounds to me like, for people people who feel rigid and boxed in, it can be difficult to just suddenly not have any structure at all. But what I see, what I feel energetically right now is we're talking about flow. You mentioned balance at the beginning of our show, but for the people that aren't able to see what I'm doing right now, there's kind of a figure eight with my hands, sort of a Tai Chi move in front of my heart and in front of my lungs. And to me, this is what about being less rigid. And it's not about breaking the walls down and completely having chaos. And it's not about having complete freedom without structure, because you can't have one without the other. But it's how do we flow in between that? And you're not in your head. So I want to know if you want to chime in on that.
Well, as you're saying that, it reminds me of a wave,
Mm-hmm.
right? When you go to the beach and there's waves, and then it comes to a calming.
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to have those breaks in those waves, right? So it's not going to be easy. There's
Right.
a lot of people that just resort to, I'm good. Because in order to make a change, you've got to have the courage to face yourself. The
Right.
good, the bad, the ugly. And then when you get past your healing, you can see the fabulous of yourself.
So looking back on your journey, do you have like a 2 or 3 step or bullet point thing that you could share with our audience that has helped you make that significant life transition, build your relationship with God, and build your 2 businesses, your coaching business and your real estate business at the same time? Do you have kind of a 1, 2, 3 type thing?
Well, I spent years studying myself. So when you study yourself, you come to some self-awareness. So that's one. The other step is to then, when you become self-aware, bring in the implementation, change the mindset. If you're used to doing this when someone triggers you, then just be still. Don't say anything. Walk away. The third thing is give yourself grace, right? As a perfectionist, it is hard. You're constantly beating yourself up because you didn't get it done. But in my healing journey, what I found is I give myself grace a lot because we're still human. There's no androids like me.
That's too bad. The world would be a better place if there were a lot of Rosita Perez McLaurin androids. Let's just say that.
And Diane McClays. Yeah. So I would have to say it's study yourself, be self-aware, then implement it. Implement a new mindset, and then give yourself grace because you're going to fall. But get up, dust your butt off, and keep moving forward.
Yeah. So study yourself, implement something that you want to change, and then give yourself grace as you're doing it. That's what I'm doing.
Yes.
For me, awareness is a really big part of choice. And I think that when you can't change what you don't know, but awareness thought, it comes at us in two ways. We either seek it out, I want to go to a counselor, I want to get a higher education, I want to get a different job, I want to get a different training. We often choose what we put our attention towards, which TV show we watch, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But then awareness also can just land on us without our consent. In my case, it was this really significant journey through an HR process that I had no idea was coming. And that resulted in me making the decision to step away from the agency that I had thought I would serve until my retirement. And what I know now is once you have awareness, you can never go back to the same place of unawareness. You can choose to ignore it. You can choose to not do anything with it, but that little awareness is going to be in your subconscious, your unconscious. It's going to be in your soul. It's going to come to you in prayer. It's going to show up. It's kind of like the red car game. If you look for a red car, if you're not looking for a red car, you don't see them. But when you're on the road, as soon as you look for a red car, they're all over the place. So awareness is like that red car for me. And my 3 steps are awareness, create options, and then choice. And I like to say, you and I talked about the difference between solving problems and generating solutions. And I know that's something you do a lot with your clients, right?
Yes.
So my 3 things, as soon as you can create an option about your awareness. So for example, if I discover that a family member is triggering a button for me, I can say, okay, now you and I, we both know that button is there.
Right.
Now I can say, what do I want to do about it? Right? What are my options? How do I respond? Do I want to make a big deal out of it? And then if we make a choice and implement action right after we make the choice, we are powerful all the way through the process. And it sounds like you and I are very similar in the steps that we do.
Yes. And it makes a difference.
Right.
And it doesn't come like overnight.
No, it does not.
Well, because it's such a microwave society, right? It's like, let's get it fixed. Okay, I'll do those 3 things. Two days later, nothing is happening. No, it's not going to happen. It's going to take time. You got to give yourself time to make that change.
Somebody once told me, and I can't remember who gave me this quote, but time is the great equalizer. Right. And I can tell you that some personal things in my life that 22 years ago, there were some people that had differences of opinion about where I was going with my life. And those differences of opinion stayed with me for a very long time. And now 22 years later, it's almost as if those differences in opinion don't even exist. So I do agree with you that time is the healer. Time is a great equalizer. It is also the thing that we can sit in the most and just be patient and observe.
Yes.
Right.
That's a choice.
Right. So what else do you want to tell our audience? We talked about New Year's resolutions. I kind of wanted to hit that a little bit. We had a statistic that you and I talked about that when people make resolutions, that 6 months later, 46% of those people are actually successful in their resolutions. And that came to, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to cite the website now.
Yeah, I remember you giving me that data. That was so...
Right. I did get that from someone else's website. That's not mine. But what I really want to talk about in the next few minutes that we have is, why do you think we're not successful? And then how can we help our audience? I'm sure we have people out there who've made resolutions or feel committed to making changes in their life. How can we help them be successful and not be that 46%?
First of all, you don't have to make the resolution January 1. Take the time to really understand what you're looking for, and then begin to just write it down and just make it a process that will be good for you. It doesn't have to be good for your friends or anybody else. But I think part of the reason that people end up giving up on the resolution is because maybe it's not clear. Like as coaches, right? We work with our clients to create SMART goals. And these are intentional. They are time stamped, if you will, right? It's by a certain time you want to do this. If you're really serious about creating resolutions, and we talked about this word too, that resolutions, now we're going to use goals. But most of the time, people don't keep their resolutions or their goals because they're unrealistic. There's no time stamp on it, or they just forget. That was just for January. I don't need to keep it going on for the rest of the year.
Right.
Or they make too many.
Well, too many and not structured enough. But when you and I talked before the show, and you used the phrase small and incremental resolutions, and that really resonated with me. I don't make resolutions at midnight or at 12:01 on January 1st. Every day when I go to bed, I say, what could I have done differently or better to be the person that I want to be? What does that look like?
Good.
Right.
Yeah.
And so now what I'm doing is I'm making those small incremental changes. So now I'm resolving to be a better version of myself every day, then resolving to lose like 22 pounds in 3 weeks kind of thing. Right. So now I've given myself permission to be a little bit more out of the box, a little more broad with where I want to go. That website was discoverhappyhabits.com is where I got those statistics. If anybody is interested, don't want to make sure we're stealing somebody else's stuff. So small incremental resolutions and making sure that they're smart. What other things do you feel you can help other people with as they're trying to be successful in their New Year's resolutions?
How I can help them as a coach?
Yeah, what do you do as a coach to help people kind of get where they want to be?
Well, first of all, let's create a vision, right? What do you see yourself at the end of 2022? What do you see your life being? And then do the reverse engineering, right? If I see myself in a home, okay, so what do I need to do to get into that home? If I see myself losing weight, then what do I need to do? But start with a vision and visualize it. Some people do a vision board, and then we make steps, do the SMART goals towards those goals that you want to have at the end of 2022.
Right. And the other thing I would say is think outside of the box. One of the things I coach people on is when they have job transitions, they always want to know how can they get the next job. Well, you may not get the job that you used to do or paid the same or gives you the same benefits. But I do an exercise with my clients where I say, okay, what can you do? Just brainstorm everything that you can do. You are physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually capable of doing. And then I ask people to list, what do they want to do? And then here's the big one. What are you willing to do?
Right.
And then what are you not willing to do?
Yeah.
Right. In general, I'm not willing. When I change jobs, I can work for, a sanitation company and, pump honey buckets. I can do that. I'm capable of doing that. Do I want to do that? No. But would I do it if my mortgage was due? Absolutely. Right. But what starts to happen is when we forget a lot of our skill sets and we forget a lot of our options and our desires and where our soul wants to take us. And so when we can make a list of all the things that are our assets, what's our resources, what's available to us, I feel like that added with your SMART goals and your intentions really can be a way that people can start saying, okay, how can I get there? And what do I need to be successful in that? Like identify the resources that you need.
And also, Diane, identify in the jobs that you've had, what did you like in those jobs?
Absolutely.
And what do you love to do? And most of the time, they kind of blend together.
Right.
And you're able to, when you are self-aware of your own gifts, because a lot of times we just do a job, we don't understand the importance of it, or the gifts that we have that other people may not have.
Right, right. Now you've coined the phrase wayfinder for yourself. Real quick, tell us what that means, and we'll make sure that we tell people how they can get a hold of you, both in your for your real estate business and for your discovery coaching business.
Well, in both the discovery coaching as well as being a realtor, I'm a wayfinder because I walk with people through the journey, whether it is trying to figure out what you want to have in a home or try to figure out what you want in your life. Either way, I help them to come home.
Absolutely. I love that. You help people to come home because home means different things to different people.
That's
And it
right.
could be a physical structure or it could just be in your heart. How can people get a hold of you? How can they work with you? And what's the last thing you want to tell them before we sign off for the day?
My website is movingforwardforlife.com. I'm also on Facebook as movingforwardforlife.com, and Rosita Sells Homes Today. And my number is 619-665-9086. Please call me for a free consultation. I'll be more than happy to help you get started on your goals.
Excellent. And I'm so glad that you took the courageous step and that you are moving forward on your dreams of becoming a podcaster with the Cornelia Stephanie Media Group and Transformation Talk Radio family. Again, your show is going to start on the 28th of January at
12:30 PST.
Okay. And again, the title of that show is going to be
Moving Forward for Life with Rosita.
All right, moving forward with life with Rosita. Well, we have to move forward so that the next host on Transformation Talk Radio can actually start their show. I'm your host, Diane McClay, on the Diane McClay Show, where we're always here to empower your life and engage your life through choice. You can find Rosita and me in the Cornelia Stephanie Media Group app. We want you to go to your Google or Android Play Store, download the app, become a member, because that's how you're going to get all the good juicy stuff, and then look for us underneath the directories. You can find more about us in the Cornelia Stephanie Media Group app. As always, the choice is yours and it starts with you. Rosita, thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Diane.
Thank you for listening to the Diane McClay Show, where you are empowered to enact change in your life through choice. You know that little voice in your head that's been telling you to pursue that passion project? Or maybe it's been screaming for you to go outside and explore the great outdoors. That voice is you, and you deserve to be heard. Listen, make a choice, make a change, and watch yourself grow. For more information about Diane or to work with her personally, visit dianemcclay.com.